The squirrel was a little unsteady on his feet. His brain felt larger, roomier. It was as if several floors in the dark room of his self, doors he hadn't even known existed, had suddenly been flung wide. Everything was shot through with meaning, purpose, light. However, the squirrel was still a squirrel. He was hungry, very. Who can say what astonishment I hid inside the most mundane being? Chapter 8. Helpful information. Flora and Mrs. Hickham noted this at the same time. The squirrel, said Flora. The vacuum cleaner, said Mrs. Hickham. Together they stared at the Ulysses 2,000 times, and at the squirrel who was holding it over his head with one paw. That can't be, said Mrs. Hickham. The squirrel shook the vacuum cleaner. That can't be, said Mrs. Hickham. You already said that, said Flora. I'm repeating myself? You're repeating yourself. Maybe I have a brain tumor, said Mrs. Hickham. It was certainly possible that Mrs. Hickham had a brain tumor. Flora knew from reading terrible things can happen to you that there was a surprising number of people were walking around. Chapter 8. Oh wait. Was tumors in their brain and didn't even know it. That was the thing about tragedy. It was just sitting there, helping you company, waiting. And you had absolutely no idea. This was the kind of helpful information you could get from the comics if you paid attention. The other kinds of information that you absorb from the irregular reading comics, most particularly from the irregular reading of the illuminated
adventures
of the
Amazing Incandesto.
Was a possible thing happen all the time. For instance, superheroes were born of ridiculous and unlikely circumstances. Spider bites, chemical spills, planetary dislocation, and the case of Alfred, T-slip from accidental submersion in an industrial-sized vat of cleaning solution called Incandesto. The cleaning professional, hard-working friend. I don't think you have a brain tumor, said Flora. There might be another explanation. Said Mrs. Hickham. What's the other explanation? Have you ever heard of incandescents? What? Said Mrs. Hickham. Who? Said Flora. And Desto is a who. He's a superhero. Right, said Mrs. Tickham. And your point is? Flora raised her right hand. She pointed with a single finger at the squirrel. Surely you're not implying, said Mrs. Tickham. The squirrel lowered the vacuum cleaner to the ground and made himself very still. He considered both of them. His whiskers twitched and trembled. There are cracker crumbs on his head. He was a squirrel. Could he be a superhero too? Our friend T. Slipper was a janitor. Most of the time people looked right past him. Sometimes, often in fact, they treated him with disdain. They had no idea of the astonishing acts of heroism the blinding light contained within his outward, humdrum disguise. Only Alfred Parakeet Dolores, who knew who he was and what he could do. The world will misunderstand him, said Flora. You bet it will, said Mrs. Tickham. Trudy, shouted Mrs. Tickham from the back door. Tootie, I'm hungry. Tootie? What a ridiculous name. Flora couldn't resist an urge to say it out loud. Tootie, she said. Tootie Tickham. Listen, Tootie, go inside. Feed your husband. Say nothing to him or to anyone else about any of this. Right, said Tootie. Say nothing, feed my husband. Okay, right. She began walking slowly towards the house. Mrs. Tickham called out, Are you done vacuuming? What about the Ulysses? Are you just going to leave it sitting there? Ulysses, whispered Flora. She felt a shiver run from back to her head to the base of her spine. She might be a natural-born cynic, but she knew the right word when he heard it. Ulysses, she heard again. She bent down and held her hand to the squirrel. Come here, Ulysses, she said.
Perfect.